Hilton Beckham is the Director of Communications for the America First Policy Institute, americafirstpolicy.com, and she's joining me now on the Scott Sands Show. Hilton, always great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So everybody's still talking about J.D. Vance's performance Tuesday night in the vice presidential debate. I think he exceeded expectations even amongst fans of his. For example, I mean, I've known J.D. for 3 or 4 years now since he started to run for the Senate here in Ohio, and I watched him destroy Tim Ryan's political career in the senatorial debate in Ohio, and he did the same thing to Tim Walz, I think.
Oh, 100%. And I almost feel that I was teetering on the edge of, how they were trying to undersell Tim Walz. And we saw that with the Kamala and Trump debate. And, she came out and exceeded expectations. So I was really bracing for Walz to do the same. And then just literally within the first minute, I was like, this is going downhill from here. Just the facial expressions alone. I don't know. He needs a body language expert to help him on his next whatever, because they are not pretty. It's like a Looney Tunes character.
What part of what I do in my like day job here at iHeartRadio is I coach talent. And I don't do a lot of video. I mean, I've got a face for radio, but I can tell you that Pete Buttigieg should be fired, should be sued for malpractice if he was Tim Walz's debate coach. My God. I mean, just looking down with his bald head, staring into the TV screen, furiously making notes, and that deer caught in headlights look, and nodding in agreement with J.D. Vance. Put all of those together, and my God, man, what are you doing up there?
I know it almost gave, like, my head was kind of spinning with how much Walz was looking down, looking to the side, writing notes, looking back up, like he didn't know exactly where to look. And it's just so funny to me that this is the man who called J.D. Vance weird, who started this whole thing against J.D. Vance, and he was the one who went up there, and it couldn't be he's the one who looked weird. But what I love the most, I don't know if you caught on this so well, whoever told J.D. Vance to go up there and show sympathy for Walz for having to defend Kamala's record, I think that man needs a raise, because it just, first of all, we all know we need the female vote for the Trump Vance ticket. That, I think, just pulled at the heartstrings of so many women. If it didn't, I don't know if you have a heart, because like that was such a perfect move to be like, you know what, it sucks that you have to get up here and defend her and her record, because we all know that Trump had the better economy, better border security, better everything, and you have to be up here and say otherwise. So I think that was just an amazing, stellar move by Vance.
And the empathy shown when Tim Walz shared the story of his son witnessing a school shooting, which we've later learned is not an entirely true story, but the empathy that J.D. Vance showed.
Did that actually come out not true?
I don't know what to believe anymore, and I haven't done my independent research, but there was a shooting. It was outside. It wasn't a school shooting. It was 2 guys arguing, and Tim Walz's son was apparently inside in a rec center, didn't see it but heard it. I don't know what to believe sometimes when these stories are going around on social media, but I've seen the debunking of that story by a couple of reliable sources, so I kind of think that maybe it was an exaggeration, but for a kid still could be traumatic if you hear somebody getting shot outside. So I'll take a little bit of both sides of that story.
You would think that it would have been brought up before.
Right.
But it does seem odd that Tim Walz decides at this moment to bring it up, especially since there was something recent of that nature. So it is a little odd.
I mean, it's just like Kamala Harris working at McDonald's, yet when nobody can seem to find the existence of that particular McDonald's or anybody else that worked with her at McDonald's.
Isn't that is the one lie where I was like, I don't even need to research this. You didn't. Like, you just didn't. I don't know how else to describe that. It's a flat out lie. Everyone knows it. I don't get it. It's crazy to me that she just said that.
Look, I understand the hyperbole and exaggeration of Donald Trump. Not everything can be the biggest, the best ever, the greatest of all. Not everything has to be that. I understand the exaggeration of it, but the lies that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and other Democrats are trying to tell for no reason makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. And I get too. It is easy to go up and exaggerate things. I 100% get that. But Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and Joe Biden, it seems like every disaster, every whatever, it's like somehow they're related to it. I don't. It's bizarre to me. But I think too. About still on the VP debate when Walz said he's a knucklehead. All I could think about was that if he were to become vice president and he was in the Situation Room and stuff hit the fan and
right.
we are going down, for Walz to go out there and people be like, why did this happen? What went wrong? And him just kind of shrugging and being like, well, I'm a knucklehead. I don't know what to say. Like, that is the energy. That's all I could picture in my head. I'm like, that's not the excuse you can give ever at any point if you are vice president. And it's just so bizarre that he thought he could get away with saying something like that.
The first thing I thought of was, I sure hope that's his Secret Service code name.
Oh my God. I am feeling that. I am using that. Oh my, I'm tweeting it. That is the best. Oh my God. We just have to come up with a good one for Kamala too. Right. But oh my Lord, that was good.
We're talking to Hilton Beckham. She's Director of Communications for the America First Policy Institute, AmericaFirstPolicy.com. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't mean to sound sexist, misogynist. But you're a woman. I'm going to ask this question.
Bring it on.
And here's why I'm asking this, because I got sent so many stories from about women who had this misconception of J.D. Vance and the way he was being portrayed, and it's also coming from gay independents who were blown away by his baby blues. Is J.D. Vance becoming a sex symbol now? I mean, did he win over some independent, undecided women voters just because he's cute?
You know what? I am so glad you brought this up, because it feels weird bringing it up. Like, you don't want to sexualize a candidate because it's just odd, but especially he's a husband with children, and
right.
I think that's another part of the appeal is that he is so vocal about his wife, using his wife for debate prep. I thought that was just saying that out loud was amazing. But no, I have been seeing on the social media, girls just tweeting and putting out about how they were like, wait, when did J.D. Vance get hot? It's bizarre. I am starting to think, I don't know if you saw recently, there was a video about hot girls for Trump, and they interviewed girls in Austin, the streets of Austin, and how much they love Trump. I think there is going to be a movement towards Vance in the same vein, because it's someone who has street smarts, book smarts, but also is kind while throwing a punch. You've gotten the majority of women there.
So I posted I sent out a tweet of a picture of J.D. Vance and I from 3 years ago when he was campaigning for the Senate, first time that he was on my show. And since then, I think he's lost 40 or 50 pounds, and I've lost 80 pounds. Mm-hmm. So we're both getting in fighting shape for 2024.
Hey, I just for the record, I saw George Santos tweet out. They're like, can someone confirm if Vance is on Ozempic? And I asked one of his staffers, because I used to work with him, and he was like, can confirm, not Ozempic, can confirm he just does a lot of running. So just for the record, Vance is really into running, and that's why he looks the way he does now.
I'm doing the terzepatides. I will admit I'm taking the shots, and it's working for me, but that's a whole other conversation. Hilton Beckham, Director of Communications, AmericaFirstPolicy.com. Just to stay on the debate for a second, let me get your opinion on this. I mean, obviously, J.D. Vance killed it, crushed Tim Walz, won the debate, but we're not seeing a lot of the clips on social media. Is this because, and I think J.D. Vance just solidified his role as the future of the MAGA movement and the future of the Republican Party, regardless of the outcome of the election in November. But are we not seeing a lot of the social media coming out because Donald Trump doesn't like somebody else to steal the spotlight and take away attention? Shouldn't he be proud of the job that J.D. Vance did?
You know, that's weird, because I heard the opposite, that over Twitter it was like an oversaturation of J.D. Vance and what he did. But I don't know, maybe you're hearing something else. I don't think so. I really think, Trump chose J.D. Vance for a reason, even though there was so much backlash for the first, several months.
Yeah, I love J.D. personally, but I thought it was a bad decision. There was nothing at stake for Ohio. I thought he should have picked someone like a Nikki Haley that maybe could have unified the party and brought some other voters in, but J.D. crushed it. I think a great pick in retrospect. I was wrong.
Hey, I've heard it's torn the party up inside because we all love JD Vance and he clearly is like the next phase of the MAGA movement after Donald Trump, and he always gives credence to Donald Trump and everything he talks about. So I think that's really remarkable on his end. I've been JD Vance since day one, but I get the argument of pulling in like a Nikki Haley to get in that independent voter. But I just didn't. I mean, would it have upset the base a lot? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know the base wouldn't have not voted for Trump, but that is such sticky territory, and it's above my pay grade. I wish I was smart enough to give an answer on that, but I will always stay tried and true with Vance.
It made sense at the time because Joe Biden was still the candidate. After Joe Biden dropped out, was forced out, then I started to think, well, maybe he made the pick a little too soon and didn't take that into consideration. But time will tell. I mean, we're less than 34 days away from the election, so there's a lot to be decided. Any other takeaways from the vice presidential debate? I think obviously J.D. Vance killed it on the economy and on immigration. Were there any stumbles when it came to issues like abortion or January 6th?
Okay, so well, first of all, I'm very just to go back to Donald Trump with Biden. I do wish we had had a JD Vance Kamala debate. That was stolen from us. Unfortunately, that would have been an unreal performance. But back to your original question, I honestly thought abortion clearly is the stickiest issue for Republicans. I think JD Vance really gave a fresh take to that. Not fresh take, but a fresh answer. I know people immediately go to talking about babies, which this is all about, but I thought it was a brilliant move on his end to start off his answer talking about the mothers and having empathy and looking out for moms who feel like there's no way out and don't know how to move forward, and then bringing in his background, which is hits on so many different demographics because of being dirt poor, surviving abuse and whatnot, and talking about women that probably clearly did not have another way out. So I thought that was a brilliant move on his end. But of course, I know this is a horribly sticky issue for Republicans that we still haven't figured out how to move forward on it. January 6th, I think he pivoted really well to the censorship. And I don't know how many times I really feel like the moderators pulled that in at the very end to give Walz like maybe the last word on something that clearly fires up the Democrat Party the most. But I think he did a good job pivoting.
Hilton Beckham here on the Scott Sands Show, AmericaFirstPolicy.com. Hilton, I know you spent some time working on Homeland Defense with the Defense Department, FEMA, now part of Homeland Security, failing miserably in their response to the victims of Hurricane Helene throughout the Southeast. And this number blew me away. I stole this from someone on Twitter earlier today. Someone had posted all of the money that FEMA has spent on illegal immigration, something you've worked on as well in the past year, and it added up to about $1 billion that FEMA has spent on illegal immigrants. Yet we don't have enough money right now to help the people of North Carolina, the people of the Appalachian area, the people of Georgia and Florida who are suffering. Here's $750. That's not even as much money as we threw away during the pandemic. The response has been horrible by FEMA so far.
Oh, it guts me, and I can't believe there isn't more out there about this. First of all, I think that was like what in the past 2 fiscal years they've spent what you just said, like close to $1 billion on illegal immigrants, and then even like cities like New York City have projected that they were going to spend around $5 billion within the past, I think, 1 to 2 years. It's insane the amount of money we pour into people who are not vetted and just cross our borders illegally, and they get free whatever they want. But then the people who live here, I can't believe even Kamala said that out loud. First of all, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I wouldn't even set a number. I would have even just talked about, like, we're making sure you get all the goods and services you need because that's the problem right now. And then talk about the money later, because $750, I mean, people's houses and livelihoods are gone. And that is like a slap in the face to even bring up a number like that. But I am very curious to see. I know probably Mr. Mayorkas, Mr. DHS Secretary, is going to have to ask more money from Congress. And I want to see how Congress is going to respond to this. Are they going to, it's hard to say you're not going to help,
Right.
Supplement this. But I mean, you look at FEMA's own website, their first goal is instilling equity as a foundation of emergency management. What the heck does that mean? That's
Right.
not what FEMA's for. And then also the second one is leading the whole community in climate resilience. I'm sure that's really helping the people of North Carolina right now.
No, that's not saving lives. It's not getting pharmaceuticals. It's not getting water. It's not getting food to the areas where there are still people trapped by floodwaters after Hurricane Helene. And I'm from the South, Hilton. I've been through dozens of hurricanes. I was there right after Katrina. I had already left the South, but I went home to help the people of New Orleans and the Gulf Coast after Katrina, which was the most devastating hurricane that I have seen in my life. And Helene has had a much wider, much broader impact on more people across the Southeast. And FEMA, once again, failing the people of the Southeast, and it's disgusting. It's just a horrible government response that we need new leadership in FEMA, and that starts with the top. Now, as I think Donald Trump pointed this out to Joe Biden, that every time there's a failure in one of these departments, whether it's Pete Buttigieg and the supply chain issues or East Palestine, he's not fired as head of the transportation department. Now we're seeing this. Nobody at FEMA is going to get fired over this response either.
No, oh, absolutely not. And you know what kills me the most is that I know Kamala and Biden were using the excuse. I know they went down Wednesday, but beforehand it was just like, MIA per usual, but they were using the excuse of, oh, we need to stay away to avoid, diverting community resources, which I could give them maybe a pass if they were at the White House when this was happening. But no. Biden, of course, is at the beach. We don't even have to guess anymore. He's always at the beach. And then Kamala was in California having fundraisers with celebrities, and then kind of forced to come back. There's just no excuses here, but the media continues to let them get away with this, and it's driving me bananas because we know if it was Trump, they would have crucified him tenfold by now.
Hilton Beckham, Director of Communications, America First Policy Institute, AmericaFirstPolicy.com to learn more, and follow her on social at Hilton Beckham. Hilton, it's great. Hilton S. Beckham on X.
Yes.
Great to have you on. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much for your insight.
Thanks so much, Scott.